In a world where eating monsters is a deadly taboo, a lone adventurer lives on the edge of that line. A nobleman's old diary once warned that consuming monsters fills a person with evil essence. The first symptom is an overwhelming rush of power and pleasure, followed by brutal headaches, nausea, and confusion. The last stage is either death or turning into a monster. Despite these ancient warnings, the story begins in frontier city Bologna, a territory packed with dangerous labyrinths, the most infamous being the Miasma Labyrinth. This dungeon's air is toxic, corroding the bodies and minds of anyone who dares enter. Most adventurers hate it, but not this man. He walks those halls like they belong to him. People start calling him the Miasma Scavenger. Deep in that maze, on the 6th floor, he searches calmly through the shadows and finds patches of miasma grass. This plant purifies the poisonous air and is his main source of income. He never takes more than needed and plans to leave when he's done, but on his way out, a swarm of miasma rats appears. These monsters use poison, just like most creatures in that dungeon. Other adventurers avoid this place for that reason, but not him. He wipes out dozens with ease until the flood of rats becomes too much. Before he gets surrounded, a group of flashy adventurers jumps in, helping him kill the rest. Their timing saves him, but their arrogance rubs him wrong. They fight like they are showing off, not caring if their surprise attack could have hit him. Soon he realizes these same people had been following him, hoping to steal his miasma grass spot. They act innocent and say it's coincidence, pretending to have just crossed paths. The air grows tense when the proud adventurers puff their chests like they want to fight. To keep things calm, he forces himself to thank them, ending it before it gets worse. Later that night, he sits in a small place called Full Belly Restaurant, trying to eat in peace while others laugh at him. He's used to it by now. People mock him for his weak skills and his reputation. His only unique ability is abnormal status nullification, which protects him from poison and disease. It helps him survive the miasma, but it's useless in real combat. He doesn't have the strength or the flashy skills needed to fight monsters properly. Because of that, no party ever wants him, and he's stuck scavenging the lower levels of the dungeon, picking scraps from where others have already gone. They call him Miasma Scavenger, like an insult, a man scraping by at the bottom. Still, he keeps working, even if it means risking his life to kill rats. He wonders if this miserable cycle is all his life will ever be. The next day, he goes to the Adventurer Guild, looking for new jobs. The place is loud, full of commotion. When he asks the receptionist for available requests, she tells him a new labyrinth was discovered. New labyrinths are gold mines, fresh monsters, untouched treasures, and rare magic items. Every adventurer dreams of getting there first, but she also gives him bad news. The price of miasma herbs just dropped hard. Nobody cares about the miasma labyrinth anymore. With everyone chasing treasure in the new dungeon, the market crashed. When she adds that the new labyrinth is located in the Alo Mountains, he feels a spark of hope, only for it to die quickly. Entry requires at least a D rank, and he's still E rank. He insists he can handle it, but she warns that going in would be suicide. While they talk, a man steps forward and offers him a chance to join as a porter. His job would be to carry supplies and materials for the team. It's not glorious, but it's a way in. Soon he's riding in a carriage toward the mountains with the group that recruited him. The man who invited him seems decent and introduces himself as Buer, the leader of a D-rank party called Scarlet Sword. The other two, Sasha and Rick, don't like having the so-called Miasma Scavenger tagging along. They look down on him from the start. Buer tries to keep peace, saying Rude isn't a rookie and has been adventuring for years. Rude gives them his guild card. It shows he's level 7, E rank, weak stats, and minor fire magic that barely works in battle but helps with light or cooking. Buer praises that as useful enough. When they reach the Ilo Labyrinth, the entrance looks empty, and they think they're the first. But once inside, they see crowds of adventurers already sweeping the first layers clean. Most treasure is gone, and the air grows tense. Sasha complains loudly, frustrated that they're late. Rick suggests going deeper, where fewer people dare to tread. Rude quietly recommends they map the first layer first, but Sasha and Rick mock him for trying to act smart. Buer calms them, though in the end, he sides with them, saying they won't find anything valuable if they stay shallow. They descend deeper, reaching the 4th layer. The monsters there are tougher, faster, and meaner. Beast-type creatures attack with fury. Rude struggles badly, missing most of his strikes. Rick has to save him mid-fight. He looks around and sees how strong his teammates are. Buer and Sasha cut through enemies like nothing. They handle the fight quickly and celebrate afterward. On that level, no other adventurers are around, which makes them happy. The monsters may be stronger, but the loot is all theirs. Rick orders Rude to start collecting materials from the dead beasts. Rude hesitates because the corpses are shredded, blood everywhere, and the magic stones inside are probably destroyed. Rick doesn't care and accuses him of slacking. Rude swallows the insult and obeys. He's used to being treated as disposable. While cleaning up, the sight and smell of the mangled bodies make him sick. Trying to make it easier, he uses his weak fire magic to burn the remains. Rick sees the flames and jokes that Rude must be cooking them. Hungry after hours in the dungeon, Rick says the monster meat almost looks good enough to eat. Sasha scolds him, reminding everyone that eating monsters is forbidden. No one knows exactly what happens when someone consumes that evil mana, only that it ends badly. Rick laughs it off, saying he was kidding, dreaming instead about feasts when they cash out. Before they can relax, the ground shakes violently. The noise roars through the tunnels. When it stops, a massive minotaur appears, a B-rank monster standing before them, too powerful for their team to handle. The group panics. They know they don't stand a chance. Buer quickly turns to Rude and tells him to hand over his bag and keep watch on the creature's movements. Rude grips his pack tight, ready to listen for orders, nerves sharp. But before he can act, Buer suddenly draws his sword. In a single swift motion, he stabs Rude, slicing deep, wearing a twisted grin. Shock hits Rude as pain floods his body. Buer smirks, calling it his great plan, while Rude collapses to the ground, bleeding out. The rest of the party freezes, realizing what just happened. Without hesitation, Buer calls to his companions to run, leaving Rude behind as bait for the Minotaur. The beast roars, shaking the walls, and the scarlet sword flees into the tunnels. Rude's vision darkens as he lies there, the stench of miasma mixing with his own blood, betrayed and abandoned in the depths of the labyrinth he fought so hard to reach. To make things worse, Rick activates his unique skill, Warrior's Engagement, a curse that forces the monster to lock onto its target. In that moment, the Minotaur's attention shifts entirely to Rude. Before he can even react, Sasha uses her own ability, Haste, doubling the Minotaur's speed. It's then Rude realizes what really happened. Scarlet Sword never planned to bring him along as a teammate. They brought him as bait. Buer confirms it coldly, saying there's nothing special about the so-called miasma scavenger, so why else would they have taken him? The three adventurers turn and bolt, leaving him to die. Betrayed and bleeding, Rude can barely stay upright. The Minotaur charges again, its massive form shaking the floor. Rude's mind starts slipping, his body numb, his vision fading. His life flashes before his eyes, every humiliation, every insult, every lonely day in the miasma labyrinth. Somehow, by pure instinct, he manages to dodge another blow, but he knows it's useless. The Minotaur smashes through the ground, sending both of them crashing down through the floor. Rude hits hard, the world spinning. He glances to the side and sees the Minotaur crushed beneath debris. It's a miracle, but one that won't last. He's bleeding out, his body broken, and even if no monsters come, he'll die from blood loss or hunger long before he heals. Lying there, delirious, hunger claws through his body until he begins to hallucinate. The smell of monster flesh fills his senses. In his half-conscious state, memories surface. A man once told him to never give up, no matter how painful life becomes. Those words ignite a small fire inside him. He refuses to die like this. In a desperate gamble, Rude gives in to the temptation and bites into the Minotaur's flesh. In this world, consuming a monster when one's magic is depleted is a death sentence. The monster's mana invades the body, twisting the soul, transforming the eater into a monster. It's a fate worse than death. But Rude doesn't care anymore. He eats, gulping down the cursed meat to regain strength, to stay alive. The transformation hits like fire in his veins. His body convulses, his heart pounds, his mind blurs. But instead of dying, he changes. When he stands again, something in him is no longer human. His eyes burn with a new hunger, not just to survive, but to destroy. Soon monsters swarm the area, drawn by the noise. Surrounded, Rude roars, and something inside him responds. A strange new power, a skill that once belonged to the Minotaur itself. His roar shakes the walls, sending waves of fear through the beasts. When that's not enough, he taps into another new skill, physical boost, enhancing his strength far beyond his limits. He swings the fallen Minotaur's axe like it's an extension of his arm, crushing enemies in a single blow. The fight turns into a frenzy. Blood, teeth, and steel mix as Rude tears through the monsters. With every kill, he eats again, devouring their flesh like fuel. Each bite gives him more power, more speed, more skills. From the bat-type monsters, he absorbs echolocation, letting him sense movement and mana even in total darkness. One by one, the creatures fall, and the man once mocked as the miasma scavenger becomes something else entirely, a predator among predators. By the time the battle ends, Rude stands covered in blood, surrounded by corpses. His breathing slows, but his eyes still burn bright. He's no longer afraid. The fear, weakness, and hesitation that ruled him before are gone. All that remains is the will to live and the strength to crush anything that stands in his way. Sometime later, outside the labyrinth, the Scarlet Sword members submit their mission report to the Bologna Guild. Guildmaster Lanar asks about Rude, who hasn't returned. Buer lies smoothly, saying Rude was killed instantly when the Minotaur appeared, before they could even help. Lanar nods solemnly, deciding to restrict entry to the new labyrinth for safety. The receptionist lowers her eyes, saddened by the supposed loss of the quiet scavenger, but moments later, the guild doors open, and Rude walks in. Everyone freezes. The man who was declared dead stands before them, alive. The Scarlet Sword trio can't hide their shock. Buer quickly switches to his fake friendly tone, rushing to greet Rude, pretending to care. Leaning close, he whispers a warning. Stay quiet if you want to live. Rick and Sasha follow his lead, acting like concerned friends. Buer suggests they celebrate his survival somewhere private, clearly planning to finish what they started. But this time, things are different. When they try to grab him, they can't move him an inch. Rude's presence alone pins them down with invisible pressure. The whole guild watches in silence as Rude finally speaks. He tells everyone the truth, that he was betrayed, used as bait by Scarlet Sword, and left to die. Lanar frowns and demands an explanation. Rude recounts everything, how Buer stole his supplies, stabbed him in the back, and how Rick and Sasha used their skills to trap him before fleeing. Buer denies everything, trying to turn the story around, but Lanar says he already suspected something. Too many porters had died mysteriously while working under Scarlet Sword. To confirm the truth, Lanar summons the Truth Officer, a woman rarely seen outside the capital, gifted with a skill that can detect lies absolutely. Her arrival shocks everyone. When she removes the cloth from her mouth, the air tightens. Lanar asks her directly who's lying. She listens, then calmly declares that Rude is telling the truth. Scarlet Sword is guilty. Panic spreads across the group. Buer tries to argue, claiming the Truth Officer's words can't be trusted. Lanar shuts him down, explaining that the truth skill can't be learned. It's a unique power, granted only to those sworn to their nation, and no lie can slip past it. Betraying comrades is the worst sin an adventurer can commit, one that leads to total ruin. Lanar states that if Scarlet Sword's crimes are proven, their qualifications will be revoked, their property confiscated, and they'll be sold into slavery. Buer snaps. Refusing to accept it, he lunges at the Truth Officer, drawing his blade in desperation. But before he can reach her, Rude steps forward and blocks the attack, glaring at him. In one swift motion, Rude punches him straight across the room, sending him crashing through the wall. The guild watches in stunned silence. He tells Buer to stop, saying it's no use. Afterward, Lanar orders the guild staff to detain Scarlet Sword for interrogation. Their past crimes will be investigated, and if confirmed, they'll lose everything: freedom, money, and honor. Given that Buer even attacked a Truth Officer, it's unlikely he'll ever be seen again. The rewards from the labyrinth are stripped from them, and Lanar decides Rude deserves them instead. He hands him a leather pouch filled with 20,000 Regan. Rude stares at the money in disbelief. For someone who used to live day-to-day scavenging scraps, this amount is life-changing. With it, he can finally eat well, rest, and buy better gear. Around him, the guild that once mocked him now watches in silence. Some still look down on him, but others have seen enough to stay quiet. Rude decides it's best not to draw more attention. He'll use this chance wisely, keep a low profile, and return to what he knows best, the Miasma Labyrinth. He leaves the guild and stops by a tool shop where a magic bag catches his eye. It's expensive but useful, and he buys it without hesitation. Then he heads off to eat properly for the first time in a long while. The next morning, he returns to the labyrinth like always. This time, the monsters that once pushed him to his limits fall easily. He tests his new skills and stats, using appraisal to check monsters' details. A miasma rat, level 9, once a serious threat, is now nothing to him. Curious, he checks his own status, and what he sees stuns him. His level has skyrocketed from 7 to 42. His strength, endurance, and agility are beyond anything a normal human should have. He's evolved into something entirely different. Wanting to test his full power, he decides to go deeper. From the 6th to the 13th floor, he clears monsters like nothing, cutting through them effortlessly. But he's not satisfied yet. He needs a real challenge. On the 24th floor, he encounters a lizard soldier, a level 25 monster that usually hunts in groups. He decides it's a good opponent to test his new strength. He sneaks up, lands a hit, but the creature runs. Chasing it, he ends up in a narrow corridor that leads to a dead end, and realizes too late that it's a trap. Dozens of lizard soldiers emerge, surrounding him from all sides. Outnumbered but grinning, Rude raises his weapon. He's no longer the weak scavenger they once mocked. Now, he's something else, a monster among men, ready to fight to the end. Rude's fighting had been sharp, but the monsters weren't letting up. Another soldier jumped in, shield up, covering its kind, while a sneak attack came at him from behind. Rude dodged again, counting moves, tracking patterns. These monsters weren't just strong, they were organized, coordinated, and deadly. He noticed the high-pitched signal right before their coordinated assault. That sound came from the General Lizard, lurking at the back. Rude scoped it out with his appraisal skill, level 32, top-tier swordsmanship, commanding every move, boss level confirmed. The General Lizard barked orders through its piercing call, sending soldiers after him. Rude hit physical boost, leaping high, swinging at the General. Level difference didn't matter. The boss shrugged off his attack like it was nothing, countering instantly. Rude had no way to dodge, but Steel Body kicked in, skill from spiders he'd eaten earlier. The strike hit, he felt it, but the boss stayed pristine. Rude realized this durability wasn't a skill of the General itself. It was borrowed somehow, probably from the substitute soldier he noticed taking damage for the General. Spotting that weak link, he ended it in a flash, killing the substitute before it could react. General Lizard lunged, but Rude was ready. Using thread manipulation, he swung, climbed, and trapped the rest in a silk net. With the soldiers immobilized, Rude finished the General, beheading it clean. Victory wasn't just survival anymore, it was total domination. Now came the reward, the lizards. Rude unpacked his magic bag, the one he bought with guild money, expanded, weightless, perfect for cooking. He finally had the chance to cook proper monster meat, slicing it, frying it, imagining the taste. The first bite blew him away. Heavenly, rich, addictive. He realized eating monsters wasn't just survival, it was power, skills, strength, instincts. It all came from the magic in their bodies. He already had Minotaur skills, Spider Silk, Evil Eye, and now he eyed the Thunder Wolf and Black Serpent for future power-ups. Excited, Rude dove deeper into the labyrinth. Floors 21 and beyond became a playground. He tried Lightning Cloak from wolves, swallowed new skills like Venom, Temperature Variation, Poison Scale Powder, Paralysis Scale Powder, and Aerial Slash while feasting on frogs, insects, and other monsters he cooked properly. Every bite meant growth, power surged, stamina increased, instincts sharpened. Then a crash echoed, human voices. Other adventurers? Rude packed his things and investigated, finding a party brutally attacking an elf woman, clearly high-ranking, dangerous, but Rude didn't hesitate. Stepping into the shadows, he coldly warned he couldn't ignore the assault. The adventurers demanded his introduction. The elf told him to get out. These were adventurer hunters, known killers. Rude sized them up. Levels, strength, no skills visible, but deadly, starting with Fuss, a level 65. The fight ignited fast. A psychopathic adventurer lunged first, tongue out, agile, hungry to kill. Rude mocked him, calling him weak, and when the guy got too close, Rude unleashed Venom Xeris. The attacker's face melted, screams echoing through the labyrinth. Shock rippled through the hunters. They realized Rude wasn't just strong, he'd become something else entirely. Rude knew his style was reckless, unconventional, but it worked. Weak people survived by being thorough, by being unpredictable. FAS, the strongest, realized this, gathering his teammates to strike together. 3 adventurers jumped at Rude, who dodged flawlessly, knowing any slip meant death. FAS hit him with a kick meant to snap his neck, but Rude activated Steel Body. Pain hit, but his body held. He slipped into a poisonous swamp, thinking fast. FAS assumed death, but Rude wasn't done yet. Inside the swamp, toxins and miasma started eating at the other adventurers' stamina. 10 minutes in, they were drained, while Rude, immune to status effects, stepped forward, slow, calculating, taunting them with how unaffected he was. FAS realized the nobody from before wasn't a nobody at all. He ordered a renewed attack, but miasma was already crippling them. Rude hardened with Steel Body and activated Lightning Cloak. Heat and electricity scorched the attackers, forcing them back. Rude's fight kept escalating. One adventurer tried a last-ditch strike, but Rude didn't flinch. He slammed down aerial slash, ending the threat in a flash. FAS, the adventurer's leader, was stunned. How could a human pull off monster skills like this? Rude didn't answer, just got ready for the real fight. FAS, thinking he had the upper hand, realized miasma was stacking against him. Speed and agility didn't help when Rude hit physical boost and force beat movement. Level 65 FAS fell, wiped by a scavenger he once considered a nobody. The elf woman, still shaken, thanked Rude. He shrugged it off, saying he couldn't leave her in that mess. Her curiosity ran high. How had he gained such power? Why were his skills like monsters? Rude wondered the same, thinking about why an elf would be alone in such a dangerous place. No time for long answers, though, because a giant moth, level 37, jumped in. Big, scary, but Rude wasn't fazed. He struck with aerial slash, chunks of debris nearly hitting the elf, who narrowly dodged. The moth tried to paralyze him, but he was immune. The elf, showing her own skill, diverted the scales with wind magic. Rude finished the moth with his skill, leaving her in awe of his monster-level abilities. They rested under a beautiful tree after the fight. She introduced herself as Alicia, a former S-rank adventurer from the legendary Azure Tales. Rude froze. He remembered the party. 5 years ago, Azure Tales had taken on the Abyssal Labyrinth. Disaster struck. Their leader died, one member retired, another vanished. Alicia bore a curse herself, slowly losing her strength. She showed Rude the mark, explaining nothing she did could stop it from draining her level. She was on the brink of death if her level hit 0. Rude, thinking fast, offered to help. He used substitute on her, transferring her curse into himself while simultaneously activating abnormal status nullification. Slowly, her curse lifted. She was amazed. Never had she seen a human wield monster skills like this. Rude checked her guild card, status back to normal. She called him an idiot for taking such a risk, but gratitude shone through. Later, at the Full Belly restaurant, they relaxed, sharing food and drinks. Alicia praised the food and alcohol, fully recovered from earlier injuries. They talked plans. She had nowhere to go, wanted to know more about Rude, and shared her dream of reclaiming strength and challenging the Abyssal Labyrinth's horrors. She proposed teaming up. Rude hesitated, but before he could answer, the pub bullies from his past showed up, mocking him. They tried to grab Alicia and Rude, but she suggested a drinking contest instead of a fight. She dominated the challenge, passing out, but safe thanks to Rude, transferring her drunkenness onto himself using substitute. They laughed, bonded, and reaffirmed, forming a party. Their adventure didn't pause. A new task came, the Barnabas fishing grounds. Nature looked perfect, but it was a trap. Neb monsters, level 23, swarmed them. Water bullets flew everywhere. Rude leapt off the boat, drawing attention, letting Alicia stay safer. He hit Lightning Cloak, electrocuting most of the swarm. Some stayed underwater, so he prepared to dive deeper. Descending, he noticed the Gneb weren't attacking. Something was off. Using appraisal, he spotted the real threat, a level 38 hermit monster with tentacles. Its health was massive, and it birthed Gneb from its limbs. Attacking the spawn was pointless without taking out the parent. Rude watched, calculated, then made his move. The hermit's tentacles tried to cut him off, using autotomy to dodge fatal blows. Rude kept striking, moving, and signaling Alicia for backup. She channeled magic through a rope, helping him maneuver and attack. Finally, the hermit fell, flattened on the shore, giving Rude a chance to catch his breath. Alicia checked in. He was okay. They'd survived, but the real boss was still deep underwater, regenerating and continuously producing Neb. Alicia warned Rude. The water was the monster's playground. Her magic wouldn't work down there, so he needed a new plan. Rude paused for a moment, thinking about all the time he'd spent in the Miasma Labyrinth, eating monsters, surviving, and now forming a party with her. He felt he owed her the truth about his abilities. He asked her not to tell anyone, and then dove into the water, activating high-speed swimming. Every swing of his sword cut down Neb after Neb, moving so fast the monsters couldn't touch him. He spotted the big boss underwater, dodging feeler attacks like they were nothing. He found the weak spot, drove his sword in, and used Lightning Cloak to finish it off. The giant monster exploded in a gush of blood, ending the threat and bringing peace back to the fishing grounds. Rude surfaced, expecting Alicia to be waiting, but she wasn't. He wondered if he'd assumed too much. Moments later, she appeared, gathering branches to help dry their clothes and make a campfire. Seeing her energetic and steady after everything, he asked if she was okay. She admitted the sight of him devouring a monster had been shocking, but trusted him enough for him to reveal it. Rude thanked her for understanding. He'd also taken a piece of the boss for himself. He couldn't eat alone, so he offered some to Alicia. She gladly accepted. While eating, Rude told her about his first monster meal, how desperate survival forced him to do it. Alicia was amazed, but figured the meat must taste good if cooked right. Rude agreed. They ate Barnabas together. He didn't want to eat Neb anymore, but wanted to try cooking it properly. Alicia politely declined, knowing it was too risky for her. After finishing her meal, she officially invited Rude into her party. Rude asked why she didn't team up with stronger, more experienced adventurers. Alicia explained her situation. 5 years had passed since her curse. Many of her old allies had retired or died, and most active adventurers were unreliable. She wanted someone she could fully trust, Rude. After hearing her, he agreed to form a party. Back at the Adventurers Guild, Alicia was thrilled about their first job together. Rude, an E-rank adventurer, doubted they'd get anything big, and Alicia seemed calm but confident. She registered their party with the receptionist, revealing her S-rank status. The receptionist was flabbergasted. Alicia of the Emerald Storm, infamous S-rank, teaming up with a nobody like Rude. Alicia explained she wanted to help him rank up. They learned he was lacking battle records despite having achievements. Alicia requested the hardest subjugation quest they could handle, and the receptionist suggested Barona. Their mission, exterminating a pack of gray wolves, level 11, with natural scent detection. Rude used stealth, and when the Alpha called reinforcements, Alicia summoned her spirit, Syl, a wind-aligned elemental. Syl's slicing winds cleared the reinforcements instantly. Rude watched the synergy between Alicia and Syl in awe. It was precise, devastating, impossible to dodge. He imagined how terrifying Alicia would be at full strength without her curse. Another wolf pack ambushed him, cornering Rude. Alicia and Syl came through, showing incredible wind-based magic, levitating and enhancing mobility. Rude thanked her, but she said the thanks should go to Syl. She spotted more wolves hiding in the bushes. Using echolocation, Rude discovered about 30 of them. He instructed Alicia where to attack. She followed his lead, her magic picking off hidden enemies. Rude's paralyzing breath then immobilized the remaining wolves. By the end, they'd killed 52 wolves in one mission. Alicia was stunned. She'd never seen so many at once. Rude asked about Syl, and Alicia explained how she channels spirits of nature for magic. Spirits are everywhere but hidden. Magic energy is offered as compensation. With compatible spirits, powerful effects can be achieved with minimal effort. Syl's wind magic could levitate and slice through enemies. Rude admitted he'd never seen wind magic that strong. Syl, playful, even plucked his hair, showing her personality. They returned before nightfall, flying thanks to Syl's wind magic. Rude, despite his massive skill set, had never experienced flight. He asked Alicia what other spirits she could work with. She specialized in ice, water, light, and earth, but darkness and fire weren't compatible, demanding too much energy or outright refusal. Their return journey was interrupted by smoke. Alicia spotted a village under attack. Bafat, a demon spirit, was wreaking havoc, terrifying villagers and summoning deadly spears. Rude prepared to fight, appraising Bafat as level 27 with skills far above normal for that level. Fire and earth magic principles, echolocation, boosted mana recovery, and high mental strength. Rude knew his fire magic alone wouldn't be enough, and the fight would require careful planning and strategy. Rude was hyped, straight up ready to crush the buffet and take its skills like he'd done 100 times before. This monster wasn't just strong, it was smart. His first swing got blocked, and Rude figured it had some sort of steel claws skill. No fancy tricks left. He powered up and hit back with brute force, tossing in principles of earth magic just to keep the monster on its toes. The buffet wasn't playing around. Every attack was calculated, holding a few fire spears in reserve, keeping Rude just barely out of range. Alicia was right there, keeping him covered with magic, while also trying not to burn down the village. She filled him in quick. Villagers hadn't been evacuated, so they had to move carefully. She knew her fire magic alone couldn't wipe this thing out, especially after flying all over and losing a ton of power. Rude kept scanning for openings, while Alicia planned their next move, trusting her instincts and experience as a former S-rank adventurer. With her supporting him from the back, Rude charged, cutting fingers off the monster with a powered-up physical boost. The buffet went berserk, and Alicia finished it with precise fire magic. The explosion that followed set part of the village on fire, leaving villagers staring, wide-eyed, as their homes went up in smoke. Shock, fear, and sorrow painted every face. Even so, the villagers were alive, and Alicia had orchestrated the evacuation quietly while giving them the story that she and Rude were chasing the Bafei, keeping things from getting suspicious. After the chaos, Rude sat by the campfire, finally ready to enjoy the fruits of their labor. He chopped and cooked the Bafei meat with mugwort and ginger. It smelled like goat, but tasted rich, a proper meal after all the blood, sweat, and risk. Eating it, he felt the power from the monster flowing into him, new skills absorbing into his body. Alicia watched, a mix of fascination and unease on her face, seeing him devour a monster like it was just a regular meal. Rude couldn't deny it. He was getting comfortable with this. No rest for the wicked, though. Level 22. Stamp pigs crashed the scene, using flash step to zip around like they were born to wreck his day. Rude tried magic, but it wasn't working. His carefully prepared buffet meal got destroyed as the pigs ran over it, leaving him furious. Alicia had to pull him back, explaining that the pigs' flash step packed a punch with every charge. They had to fight from a distance, avoiding straight-line collisions, climbing trees to dodge the relentless horde. Rude took a moment to puzzle over his magic failure. He realized his body hadn't been able to comprehend monster magic before, but with Alicia's insight, he tried manipulating mana instead of raw magic power. Concentrating, he felt it in his bones, a surge of energy ready to channel. He swung fire magic at the stamp pigs, obliterating them instantly. Revenge served cold. He apologized to Alicia for making her wait while he tinkered with his mana, and she explained the key difference. Mana wasn't magic power. It was something he could draw from his own body and fuel continuously. Eating monsters replenished it even faster. They settled back for a moment, eating the rest of the buffet meat, and Rude even bit into a stamp pig, taking its flash step skill. Alicia was fascinated, noting how he could absorb mana and skills from monsters, storing it in his body for later use. They were learning from each other now, the synergy between monster powers and human intellect pushing their abilities further. Then the noise hit. Another stamp pig. Massive. The boss. This thing was engulfed in fire but didn't burn, revealing its fire resistance. Rude's fury peaked as it barreled toward Alicia, but he blocked in time. The king stamp pig wasn't complicated. It was pure muscle and endurance, nothing fancy, but that made it terrifying. He tried principles of earth magic, imitating a punch, but the monster's sheer strength crushed his attack. Alicia's wind magic lifted her out of harm's way, but there was no shortcut here. Rude had to improvise. He drew mana from his own body and poured it into his sword. Swinging with every ounce of strength and focus, he cut the king stamp pig clean in half. Alicia gawked, seeing him wield mana like a natural extension of himself, no practice required. He felt it in every fiber. This was raw power, amplified by the lessons of eating monsters, harnessing their abilities and combining it with human creativity. His blade shattered as the mana surged out, but the monster was gone. Victory. After Rude's insane display of mana-fueled swordplay, Alicia pointed out something he hadn't even thought about. His sword probably couldn't handle that much mana for long. Weapons weren't just tools. They were extensions of a fighter's body, and overloading it could backfire badly. Both of them agreed to call it a day and step back from the wild fights. Rude gathered all the meat from the 7th layer of the miasma labyrinth, stashing it away for later. Meanwhile, 3 adventurers who had been stealing his usual harvesting spot were celebrating like idiots after taking down a great miasma rat. They laughed and flexed over the corpse, arrogance dripping off them, until one of them heard a weird low tone. Curiosity got the better of him, and the others followed down a hidden path, finding a staircase leading to an underground room. Even before entering, one of them felt uneasy, but they brushed it off, too greedy to care. Inside, they discovered a treasure chest placed like a trap. Opening it revealed a strong sword radiating intense magic. One adventurer, Regard, cautious as always, immediately suspected a curse. The short, arrogant guy of the group laughed off his concerns, claiming they were finally being blessed after all the late-night dives and struggles to make easy money. They had no idea this was the kind of power that could eat them alive if mishandled. Regard even mentioned Rude and his beautiful elf companion, which got his friends laughing at Rude like he'd lost his mind. Back in Frontier City, Bologna, Rude and Alicia went to Minor Hammer, a smithy run by Doom, to get a sword that could withstand mana-infused blows. Doom froze when he saw the state of Rude's old sword, amazed it didn't just shatter. Rude explained everything, eating monsters, absorbing powers, and pumping mana into his weapons. Doomy wasn't shocked. For him, as long as Rude's meals tasted good, it didn't matter what he ate. Doom agreed to forge a sword that could handle mana blasts, though it would take time. He needed high-quality magic stones, which Rude had collected from previous monster hunts. With a temporary replacement sword in hand, Doom warned Rude not to overdo it, or he'd make him pay next time. After that, they grabbed a bite at Full Belly Restaurant. Alicia suggested laying low on magic attacks for a while. She liked meeting Rude's friends, though it was intense when he joked about feeling sorry for being late. The three arrogant adventurers from before suddenly showed up, wanting to join them. Alicia challenged them to a drinking contest instead of fighting right away. Rondo, one of their adventurers, had the cursed sword from the labyrinth. As he picked it up, a dark red aura surrounded the blade, and chaos erupted. Rondo attacked recklessly, deepening old injuries, while the sword's curse started taking over. Rude barely dodged, trying to figure out what was happening. Alicia attempted magic, but the sword absorbed her attacks. It became clear the sword was cursed, growing stronger by feeding on magic. Rondo himself was leveling up along with it, becoming faster, stronger, and more dangerous by the second. Rude realized they had to weaken the curse first. He tried using principles of earth magic to restrain Rondo's movements, thinking maybe he could remove the curse like he had done with others before. When that failed, he switched to fire magic to weaken the sword's influence. It worked partially. Rondo broke free, but the left arm was freed from the curse. The right arm remained possessed, moving with terrifying speed and absorbing magic as he attacked. The curse was no joke now. Possessed Rondo had grown faster, more agile, and more precise than anything Rude had seen before. He was no longer just an adventurer. He was a monster with a human body, controlled by the sword. Rude blocked attacks, dodged, and tried to find openings, but the curse made him a near-perfect fighter. Alicia had to step in for close combat, using a magical kick and direct attacks, something she rarely did. She reminded Rude that a wizard useless at close range was a liability. They had to kill the curse, not just fight. The only way to stop it was to destroy Rondo's heart. Rigger, Magnus, and Rude coordinated a desperate plan. The curse's two-headed form gave it insane vision and speed, making direct strikes nearly impossible. Rude used smog to obscure the battlefield, gaining a sliver of advantage. He managed to leave a shallow wound on the curse, just enough to open an opportunity. Alicia summoned Nomia, an earth attribute spirit, impaling the curse with magic, but it barely grazed the heart. The curse attempted to retaliate, but Magnus and Rigard intervened, giving Rude and Alicia a chance. In a tense final push, Magnus, Rondo's close friend, took the decisive strike, impaling Rondo's heart. Rondo, the person, was gone, but freed from the curse at last. The party grieved over the friend who couldn't be saved fully, mourning the human behind the possessed shell. Rude picked up the cursed sword, now calm but aware of its danger. It had an eye over the handle, screaming and showing murderous intent. Rude told it to shut up. It didn't scare him. The Bologna branch guildmaster, Lenar, arrived soon after, taking in the destruction. He inspected Rondo's body and the cursed sword, demanding a full explanation. After hearing about the curse and why Rondo's death was necessary, Lenar approved Rude keeping the sword, with strict conditions. If he ever became possessed by it, the guild would act decisively. Rude agreed, aware of the responsibility. Lenar extended gratitude for Rude and Alicia's handling of the incident and offered condolences to Magnus and Rigard for their loss. After the cursed sword incident, Lenar dropped the next bomb. Nobody's getting a break anytime soon. Monsters were pouring out of the newly discovered Abello labyrinth at an abnormal rate. Apparently, there was one monster inside driving this chaos, Miasma Dragon Basista, a level 70-plus beast. The reports weren't kidding. This dragon wasn't just strong, it pumped out high concentrations of miasma that seemed to drive other monsters wild, causing a chain reaction. The survey team had already taken hits, and Lenar feared that if it kept spreading, the miasma would creep beyond the labyrinth, wreaking havoc on nearby settlements. That was why he wanted Rude and Alicia. Rude didn't waste time. He made it clear that he wanted to meet the surviving survey team members first. Lenar led him and Alicia to the medical ward, where Rude used his substitute skill to treat one of the injured adventurers. Lenar was floored. He didn't know Rude could nullify abnormal conditions like that. Rude explained that it only worked if the person didn't reject him, a neat trick to make his skills even deadlier in emergencies. After seeing the state of the team, Rude decided that only he and Alicia would take on Basista. Fewer people meant fewer distractions and easier maneuvering inside the labyrinth. Plus, he admitted, fighting a monster that strong was exactly what he wanted. Night fell, and the duo decided to rest, preparing for the upcoming fight. Alicia questioned if two of them were enough, but Rude reassured her. He could unleash his full abilities without holding back if nobody else was around. He even apologized for dragging her into it, and Alicia laughed, calling him out for saying something so nonsensical. She made it clear, if he'd gone alone, she'd have beaten him into sense. Together, they were enough to save everyone. They reached the lowest floor of the Abello labyrinth, immediately encountering level 20 Bob goblins. These goblins had physical boosts and club mastery, but for Rude, they were trivial. One swing of his cursed sword split one in half. Alicia noted that the floor's monsters were already showing signs of miasma influence. Her purification items weren't even fully effective, proving how fast the miasma was spreading. Rude guessed many monsters on higher floors might be dead from the miasma's buildup. Before moving on, he confirmed Alicia was willing to push forward, and she was resolute. The trauma of leaving friends behind in previous missions had steeled her resolve. Rude used his substitute skill to extract miasma from Alicia as they moved, but the effect only lasted while he held her hand, so they traveled together, hand in hand, through the thick, obscuring miasma, aiming just 5 floors deeper to find Basista. As they descended, the miasma thickened. Rude used echolocation to detect 2 unknown monsters ahead. Alicia guessed these monsters had adapted to the dense miasma and were formidable. Rude admitted he was curious, not hungry. He wanted to test his cursed sword against these unknown creatures before the dragon fight. The monsters revealed themselves. Level 33, rolling beetles with steel bodies, poison, miasma, and paralysis resistance. Not even the thick miasma affected them. Rude's first attempt, destroying their platform with earth magic, failed, as the beetles simply curled up and rolled at them. Alicia's spirit magic stopped one temporarily, but she couldn't hold it long. Rude stepped up as the tank, drawing out the cursed sword. He dared it not to break and tried to kill the beetle instantly. The blade was insanely sharp, slicing the stone barrier Alicia set up, but the monster survived. The scales were too thick. Rude asked Alicia to charge the sword with her magic. With her power infused, the cursed sword revealed its true strength, annihilating the beetle in seconds. The second beetle froze in fear, and Rude ended it with one clean hit as well. He praised Alicia's flawless magic control, and as always, grabbed her hand to keep the substitute skill going to remove the building miasma. Then he took some time to absorb magic from the fallen beetles, cooking and eating them to restore his mana. Rude reflected on the cursed sword. Once it absorbed enough magic, his physical abilities skyrocketed. Unlike his previous blade, this one could handle mana infusion without breaking. Suddenly, the sword demanded something. It wanted a magic stone. Rude mixed a bit of his blood into the stone, fed it to the sword, and watched it grow dramatically. Alicia was shocked, and Rude explained he could hear the sword's voice in his head. He had figured out how to communicate with it, how to gauge what it wanted, and how to maximize its power. The duo pressed on, just 1 floor below Basista's last known location. As soon as they mentioned the dragon, a roar shook the labyrinth, so loud the ceiling nearly collapsed. Rude suggested supporting it with earth magic, but Alicia vetoed the plan. If they tried to fortify the floor, they'd lose access to the dragon's floor. She decided to break through the extra floors and reach the fight directly. On the dragon's floor, it was dark and thick with miasma. Rude used thermal vision to locate Basista. It wasn't level 70. It was level 75. It had insane stats, over 500 vitality, incredible rare skills, and deadly fangs and claws coated in poison. Its agility was weak for its size, but that barely mattered. The sight of it sent a wave of panic through them. Alicia asked about magic resistance. Rude confirmed that fire, earth, lightning, and darkness wouldn't work. They had to use other attributes. Basista roared again. Rude wanted to observe from afar, figure out attack patterns, but the dragon struck immediately. Fire shot from its maw, nearly taking him out, but Rude used flash step to dodge. The attack melted pillars and floors. Alicia, operating from the rear, called out Svide, using wind magic to propel Rude closer at near-sonic speeds. Rude managed to scratch, but the dragon's thick skin held. Even the cursed sword combined with his magic couldn't fully penetrate it. Alicia's spirit magic had minimal effect. The dragon countered with quills from its tail. Rude blocked with steel body, Alicia with spirit magic. Both realized the challenge ahead. They were facing a tanky, high-defense monster with long-range capabilities. Alicia prepped a special move, asking Rude to buy her time. Meanwhile, Rude moved in close using earth magic, trying to deal as much damage as possible while simultaneously defending her. Rude and Alicia were deep in the labyrinth, and things were heating up. Alicia had gone all in, pouring every bit of her magic into this one big move. She'd left herself wide open, fully relying on Rude to hold the line. She summoned all her elemental spirits, Salam, Oral, Nomia, and Wakan, stacking up every ounce of power she had. Meanwhile, Rude was moving non-stop, fighting, retreating, and covering her back at the same time. He kept an eye on the monster, feeling the heat of the battle, ready for the moment she'd finish charging her ultimate. When she finally signaled it was go time, she unleashed Spirit's Quintet. The room lit up like the sun exploding, smog vanishing in the flash of her magic. But the monster, it was still standing. Despite all the damage, it wasn't down yet. Alicia gritted her teeth, realizing that even her full power wouldn't have ended it in one shot. Rude clapped her on the shoulder, calling it a nice shot, and told her now it was his turn. She could focus on keeping herself safe while he went all out. The monster roared, shaking the dungeon to its core. But Rude wasn't fazed. He unleashed his own roar skill, showing that he wasn't just some human squishy in the way of a massive dragon. He was powered up, filled with all the mana he had absorbed from Alicia's magic and dark energy stored from the previous fights. Confidence radiated off him. He charged at the monster, slicing through its scales, feeling the resistance, noting that the sword Graham had absorbed mana from was losing its effectiveness. The more he fought, the more he realized the monster's sheer size and miasma waves were going to push him to his limits. The dragon lashed out, throwing quills and hitting Rude with brutal force. He activated Steel Body, but the impact still sent him flying. Rude thought back to his Minotaur fight, remembering how close he came to death back then, but this time he wasn't the same. He was stronger, faster, and more determined. He decided to stop dodging and take the fight to the dragon head-on. Using thread manipulation like a giant slingshot, he launched himself at the beast. The dragon countered with a massive breath of fire, but Rude absorbed the mana inside it, using it to power up his own weapon while resisting the heat with fire resistance. Alicia, seeing him on the edge of burning alive, tossed water at him with her remaining magic, letting him land the strike. And land it he did. With all the power he could muster, combined mana, and sheer will, Rude's ultimate attack cut the dragon clean in half. Exhausted but alive, he told Alicia not to overdo her magic with healing. He'd manage with his bloodlust skill, a minor healing ability he picked up in a hidden labyrinth. They both collapsed to the ground, breathing hard, happy and amazed that they'd taken down a level 75 miasma dragon. It was a victory, but just the start. The labyrinth still held more secrets, and Rude remembered the hero who saved him as a kid, the one who made him dream of this life. Now he was walking that path himself, stronger, faster, hungrier for adventure. They explored deeper and eventually reached the core of the labyrinth, a glowing centerpiece only a handful of adventurers had ever seen. Alicia explained that normally the core wasn't touched because its destruction triggers massive changes. Rude didn't want the dragon resurrecting, so he went all in. Thanks to everything he'd endured in the Io labyrinth before, he had the experience and guts to shatter it. The core was broken, the dragon gone for good, and he'd opened a path to his dream. Back in Bologna, the guildmaster Lenar had been waiting, unsure what the adventurers were up to. Reports hadn't come in, and no one expected the infamous miasma scavenger, Rude, to actually save the city. But when Rude and Alicia returned through a teleportation circle, victorious, it hit the city hard. The miasma dragon was gone, the labyrinth destroyed, and the guild welcomed them as heroes. They'd single-handedly taken down a level 75 threat, something almost unheard of. Meanwhile, in a neighboring city, Gore, the lord was furious about the labyrinth being destroyed. He'd been planning to claim ownership for profit, but now it was gone. His advisor tried to calm him down, pointing out that this might actually benefit them politically and financially, letting them argue legitimacy while avoiding direct conflict. The lord grudgingly agreed, but tensions were high. Out in the wilderness, Rude was back to his usual ritual, cooking monster meat. This time, it was the rare miasma dragon steak. He'd kept portions in his bag just for this moment. First bite, and he lost it. This was on a whole new level. Rich, sweet, melting fat, flavor exploding, everything he'd tasted before paled in comparison. Alicia, drooling like always, tried to distract him, insisting they needed to gather intel on good restaurants. Rude just laughed, too busy enjoying the dragon meat to move. 4 days passed after the labyrinth collapse. Guildmaster Lanar summoned them to finalize the reports and hand out rewards. Rude was stunned when they presented him 1.5 million Regan. The labyrinth had required level 70 to conquer, and this reward was more than fair. They also updated his adventurer rank. Rude, already level 52, was promoted to D rank for completing it almost single-handedly. Alicia noted that his growth rate was abnormal. Most adventurers slowed down around level 40, but Rude was still accelerating. He even smirked, revealing he'd surpassed her level, 45. She rolled her eyes, reminding him that combat power mattered more than levels, and she still had the edge there. As they were talking, the Lord of Gore entered the guild, instantly recognizing Rude as the miasma scavenger. He was irate, berating Rude for destroying the labyrinth. Rude kept his cool, explaining that ownership had been contested and that Bologna had shut them out due to the influx of monsters. The Lord was furious, but Rude was already several steps ahead. He'd done the impossible, saved Bologna, destroyed a level 75 threat, and had the city's gratitude. Things were already tense when the Lord of Gular started grilling Rude about compensating their city for the profits they lost from the Abellio labyrinth, not to mention all the chaos caused by the monsters that had spilled over into their territory. Rude was tired of all the questions, but Alicia stepped up, cool and sharp, cutting him off. She pointed out that these issues weren't for them to settle, it was a job for guild reps. Besides, she added, no reports came in about monsters flooding Gular land, and Bala's adventurers had already cleaned up the mess. She wasn't letting random hotshots talk over her either. Rude just watched, impressed. Alicia had that S-rank charisma, and she wielded it like a sword in this conversation. The guild master of Gular clearly hadn't gotten the memo about S-rank talent. He dissed Alicia hard, mocking her for surviving the abyssal labyrinth, saying she was just a leftover survivor from a failed party. Rude remembered him vaguely from before. This guy had no chill, and he kept whispering insults to Alicia, calling her worthless trash. Her magic flared like a storm in the room, and suddenly, the big, mighty guildmaster was feeling a twinge of intimidation from someone technically a level 45 now. Lenar, the guildmaster of Bala, stepped in to cool things down, making it clear there wouldn't be a fight in his guild. He dragged the Gular Lord and the guildmaster along before the situation could get worse. Even so, the Gular guildmaster kept sniping at Alicia with his words, totally unbothered by Lenar's presence. Out of nowhere, a voice called Alicia's name. This guy steps up, an elf, sharp features, practically glowing with presence. Rude had no energy for extra trouble and kept his distance. Alicia called him Ebert, someone from an old party she had adventured with. He had admired her back then, especially the way she could handle multiple elementals at once, and he knew about her past curse and all the struggles she endured. He came to Bala to ask her to join his new party, but Alicia shut that down right away. She already had a party, her team now included Rude. Rude reached out for a handshake, but Ebert slapped it away. No interest. His focus was solely on Alicia. He started apologizing for what he perceived as her past misfortune, bringing up her involvement with someone known as the infamous miasma scavenger. Alicia, sharp as ever, distanced herself, letting him know that insulting her current party was insulting her personally. She wasn't going to take his pity or his assumptions. Plus, she revealed that her curse had been removed, something that threw Ebert for a loop. That curse came from an SS rank, abyssal labyrinth boss, basically untouchable, yet here she was, curse-free, hinting she had some serious help behind the scenes. Alicia also dropped the news that Rude's rank would be re-evaluated. Ebert, of course, assumed Rude was just trying to ride her coattails and that she must have done everything herself against the miasma dragon, leaving Rude to take credit. Rude, quiet, shrugged off the elf's assumptions, while Alicia explained that pride and prejudice ran deep in elf society, and Ebert was just showing the classic elf arrogance. After all that, Rude and Alicia went to fetch his new rank documents. The receptionist revealed that he had jumped past C rank straight into B rank. The Abellio Labyrinth mission wasn't easy, and this promotion was a well-earned testament to his skill. Villagers' reports of their heroics had been submitted too, solidifying their achievement. Magnus and Rard, who had helped in smaller ways, congratulated Rude, letting him know that everyone in the town was grateful. Alicia, ever motivational, reminded him that stopping at B rank wasn't enough. They were aiming higher, S rank status, ultimate adventurer level stuff. They hyped each other up, pumped to tackle more challenges ahead. But Ebert wasn't done yet. True to his prideful nature, he interrupted, snarking about rules and rank, complaining that Rude had done nothing, yet received a B rank. He even called the Bala Guild idiots for allowing it. Magnus stepped up, ready to teach the elf a lesson, but Ebert's speed and skill made short work of that. He sent Magnus flying, pinned him, and even blocked him with his sword. Pure intimidation. Alicia stepped in, trying to smooth things over, while Ebert strutted around thinking he was a humble, understanding, and charming elf, convinced he was the only one who could guide her. Rude laughed at the absurdity, elves and their pride, always the same. Then Ebert directly challenged Rude, saying he was incompetent and dangerous to other adventurers, insisting he needed a trial to prove his worth. Alicia gave him the go-ahead, letting him see firsthand how strong Rude had become. They headed to the Bala Guild training grounds for the showdown. Alicia apologized for dragging Rude into this mess, but he shrugged it off. This fight was about proving himself. In the world of adventurers, strength speaks louder than words, and that was exactly what this fight was about. As the duel began, Ebert went off like a cannon. Speed, power, skill, it was all there. Rude realized quickly that this guy was a master swordsman. He used both offensive and enhancement magic in his fighting style, a magic swordsman who blended haste and physical boosts seamlessly. Ebert disappeared and reappeared behind Rude, landing a strike that caught him off guard. His moves were lightning fast, backed by elemental enchantments and skillful manipulations. Rude had to keep his wits about him, fully aware that Ebert was showing why B rank wasn't just handed out, it was earned. Rude didn't back down. He admitted that with his current skills, he wasn't on Ebert's level, but that wasn't the point. It wasn't him choosing to stay by Alicia's side, she had chosen him. That alone gave him purpose. He launched into the fight, using principles of earth magic and Graham, his cursed sword, absorbing incoming attacks. He was fast, strong, and relentless. Ebert called the blade magical, but Rude corrected him. It was cursed, and that curse carried raw, destructive power. Ebert tried to overwhelm him with lightning attacks, zapping his body with palm strikes and enchantments. Rude, however, absorbed the paralysis status with his unique abilities and turned the tables. He showed that sometimes sheer action trumps flashy attacks. Headbutt, pin, intimidation. Rude won the duel the same way he had handled Magnus before, sending a clear message that strength didn't come from titles or pride, but from skill, resilience, and determination. Back at the Bala Guild, Lanar, the guildmaster, sat down with the Gular representatives to discuss the Abellio Labyrinth's destruction. The feudal lord of Gular was out on business, so Lanar handled everything in his absence. The discussion was serious, focusing on the legality and repercussions of Bala's actions. Meanwhile, Rude and Alicia had secured their place in the guild hierarchy, Rude proudly sporting his new B-rank status, and Alicia quietly strong at her level 45. Lon Carey listened to the complaints from Gular, trying to mediate, saying he understood their claims and that Bala intended to cooperate. The Lord of Gular wasn't having it, insisting cooperation wasn't enough. They wanted cash, fair compensation for their share of the Abellio Labyrinth. He accused Bala of being greedy, taking more than their fair share, and insisted they pay up. Before the argument could get uglier, a female worker stormed in with urgent news. Something weird was happening at the Abellio Labyrinth, even though it had supposedly collapsed. The surrounding area was saturated with mana, and the concentration had already reached B-rank levels. 2 gargoyles were guarding the entrance, stopping anyone from getting near. Lanar didn't waste time with Gular's petty squabbles. He immediately started organizing a subjugation force and called in every B-rank adventurer, including Rude. Once everyone gathered, Lanar explained the situation. The labyrinth was entering a rare phenomenon called the labyrinth cycle, basically the dungeon evolving. Alicia explained to Rude that this was her first time seeing an evolving labyrinth, and while it was exciting, it was also dangerous. The mana concentration outside was already B rank, and inside, it could easily reach S rank. If the labyrinth fully emerged from this chrysalis stage, it could flood the surrounding areas with mana, causing catastrophic damage to Gular and Bala. Lanar reassured Rude, reminding him that he had cleared the dungeon before and that they would count on him again. The adventurers arrived at the labyrinth entrance. The gargoyles were exactly as reported, level 50 monsters built for endurance, with multiple skills that Rude recognized from his own experience. He initially thought they wouldn't attack, but both gargoyles charged. One targeted Alicia, but Lanar saved her, while the Gular guildmaster cut the other in half. Orders were given: follow the guildmaster's lead, stay coordinated. Rude wanted to eat the gargoyle, but had to back off when he realized it could regenerate. When he tried to burn it, the Gular guildmaster scolded him, pointing out his mistake. Rude felt the sting of inexperience working in a team. Inside the labyrinth, Rude noted the changes. The air had less miasma than before, but the monsters were still dangerous. The layout hadn't shifted much, but Alicia warned him not to get complacent. The group was met by a swarm of ugly monsters. Lonar picked the biggest one, letting the other adventurers handle the smaller ones. The Ghouler Guildmaster activated Warrior's Honor, boosting the physical power of nearby adventurers. Rude noticed, though, that his abnormal status nullification skill cancelled the buff. He couldn't benefit from support magic. He felt like dead weight, while everyone else moved in perfect synergy. The smaller monsters were taken down efficiently, showcasing each adventurer's specialty. The teamwork was flawless, but Rude's frustration grew. He hadn't been able to contribute much yet. Then a hybrid insect monster appeared, part beetle, part centipede, hiding underground until now. The adventurers adapted, crushing it through strategy and coordination. Rude spotted parasitic creatures among the corpses and tried to handle them with earth magic. The parasites neutralized his attacks with earth removal, and his effort failed. The Guildmaster ended the fight with a clean decapitation, and Ebert mocked him for using the wrong approach. Rude's lack of group experience and inability to use support magic made him feel like nothing more than baggage. The tension spiked when an explosion revealed a giant parasite-controlled monster. The adventurers fought, but it regenerated fast and became more dangerous. The Ghouler Guildmaster underestimated it until he was petrified in moments. Everyone was frozen into stone statues, but thanks to his abnormal status nullification, Rude stayed active. He saved Lenar using thread manipulation, and Alicia using his substitute skill. The monster, called Chaos Mouse, was tanky, strong, and specialized in close combat with regeneration. Rude planned his strategy. He wanted Alicia to break the monster's stance first. She summoned her elementals, Nomia and Sphide, which knocked the monster off balance. Chaos Mouse transformed, sprouting a strange, unnatural mouth and throwing petrifying insect swarms. Rude countered with his lightning cloak, clearing the air. When the monster leapt to strike him from behind, Lanner intervened, shielding him. Rude poured mana into his sword, slashing the monster cleanly in two halves. He discovered he could control how much mana he put into his attacks, which allowed him to counter the monster's regeneration. Using venomous stingers, he inflicted poison faster than the monster could heal. Alicia was impressed. Rude was saving everyone with moves he had acquired from the Miasma Dragon. Lenar, curious, requested that Rude explain his abilities. Once Rude revealed his skills, Lenar admitted it was hard to believe, but witnessing him fight firsthand made it undeniable. Rude truly had absorbed and mastered monster abilities. Ebert, the prideful elf, had a total 180 on Rude. After all the insults and side-eye he'd thrown, Ebert now openly admitted that Rude was the real deal, someone fit to stand by Alicia's side. One adventurer, curious about Rudy's weird habits, asked if he actually ate monsters. Rude grinned and offered a little demo, explaining how he cooks each creature low and slow, rids it of any stench with herbs, and turns it into a mouth-watering, mana-rich meal. Even the Gore Guild Master was impressed. He didn't smell evil from the creatures, just raw, divine energy. The Guild Master suggested waiting for backup since they didn't know much about the monsters inside. Lanner shook it off, saying waiting would only let the labyrinth cycle progress. He trusted Rude and Alicia completely and planned to conquer the dungeon without reinforcements. Rude pointed out that the path to the boss room shouldn't take long if the dungeon layout hadn't changed, but a collapsed ceiling from their last visit blocked the way. Rude remembered that the Chaos Mouse had made his earth magic useless, but now, having eaten some of it, he'd gained its soil and earth removal skill. Using it, he cleared the rubble and reopened the route. Inside one of the rooms, they stumbled upon a legendary white dragon egg. Lanar, a guild master, had only read about these creatures in books. The egg contained a dragon that cycles between life and death, reincarnating through the labyrinth, retaining all knowledge from past lives, and rumored to understand human language. One overconfident adventurer tried to break it, ignoring Lanner's warnings, and got smacked by a tentacle. The egg was clearly self-protective, alive in ways that no one fully understood. Rude tried to appraise it, but found its status completely hidden. The Gore Guild Master doubted they could handle it without reinforcements, but Lanner wasn't backing down. He wanted the egg stopped before it hatched. He went for its legs, but they regenerated almost instantly, leaving everyone shocked. Lenar asked Rudy for help. The egg roared, shaking the adventurers to their core, and Lenar pressed an all-out attack. Ebert and the Gore Guild Master supported him, and finally, they severely injured the egg. Rude went for the finishing move, cutting the egg in half with mana-infused precision. Still, the main body was unharmed, just the outer covering damaged. Alicia tried to finish it using SED, but the egg closed before her magic could hit. The Gore Guild Master realized they were at a disadvantage now. The dragon's aura radiated pure menace, chilling everyone. Lanar noted that they needed one powerful strike to end it, since its regeneration made it nearly invincible. The adventurers coordinated. Some targeted the egg's legs, creating a gap for Lanar to deliver a charged strike, while Rude and Alicia took the front left. The egg tried to defend itself, quilling and firing spikes, but one adventurer used a magic barrier to protect the group. Lanar charged his skill, doubling its power. Rude used his command skill to coordinate everyone telepathically, timing the leg strikes perfectly. When the countdown hit 0, every adventurer cut the legs together, and the egg toppled. Lanar delivered the strike, and the adventurers' teamwork finally brought the legendary dragon down. After using almost all his mana, Lanar was exhausted. The Gore Guild Master admitted that defeating the wise dragon would have been impossible without everyone's cooperation. One adventurer tried to collect the dragon's magic stones for profit, but found none. Suddenly, a failed reincarnation of the dragon appeared, capable of speaking human language. It warned them of its short-lived body, but threatened to punish the intruders who disturbed its rebirth. The adventurers tried attacking, but the dragon could read their moves and flung them back. Alicia checked on Rude. He reassured her he was fine, but low on mana. Seeing everyone struggle, Alicia decided it was time to end it in one strike. She charged her Quintet of Spirits move, telling Rude to coordinate the rest through telepathy. Everyone moved aside, giving her the path. But despite her full power, the dragon survived, and it retaliated immediately, taking down Lanar with its tail. Fatigue was setting in for the adventurers after the long battle with the wise dragon. Even Abert's normally precise attacks were easily nullified. Alicia felt the weight of PTSD creeping back. Seeing her friends at the brink of death reminded her of past losses, and blamed herself for being powerless. The dragon spoke, threatening to turn her into nourishment for its wisdom. Rude realized they couldn't win, and that escape was the only option. He planned to buy time to reach the labyrinth's core escape circle. When he tried to activate thread manipulation, his mana failed him. Alicia became the target of the dragon's breath, but she managed to counter with Sphide's help, keeping herself alive for now. The chaos inside the labyrinth was insane. The Ghouler Guildmaster tried throwing his flying blade, but Orphis was quick, blocking it with some crazy magic process. Then it started raining water bullets, and everyone just groaned. The monster wasn't done, though. It charged Lancarry with a void strike that had everyone's jaws hitting the floor. The Ghouler Guildmaster tried to give orders, saying Orphis was distracted, and it was time to attack, but it was already too late. Orphis impaled the Guildmaster, while Alicia's Spirit Ortal tried to help, but got wrecked and eaten. Alicia froze, devastated, watching her precious spirit get wiped out like that. Orphis leaned in, all smug, explaining that it didn't even need that charged attack. It just wanted to see the despair on their faces. It was calculating, tasting fear. Just when things seemed hopeless, Rude crashed into Orphis, saving Alicia, at least for a second. His surprise hit took the monster off guard, popping out its eyeball. Orphis realized something wild. Rude had consumed part of its eggshell earlier, and now had turned into a monster himself, though Rude was still conscious and aware. Mana was raging through him uncontrollably, burning his body hot, but he kept moving, pulling Alicia out of danger. A member of Lancarry's subjugation team, a girl with some serious skills, noticed Rude struggling with the insane flow of mana. She placed her hand on his back, casting an incantation to help harmonize the energy inside him. Slowly, he started to regain control, and she handed him his sword, telling him to finish off the half-dead lizard in front of them. Rude, fueled by adrenaline and the girl's assistance, swung hard and cleaved the monster in half with one clean hit. He rushed to check on his friends, seeing most of them seriously injured. Thread manipulation wasn't helping with healing. They were too badly hurt. The girl suggested they carry everyone out one by one, but Rude's instinct screamed no. He couldn't abandon anyone. The labyrinth was collapsing, rocks crashing down, and Orphis acted as a weird substitute for the core. Time was ticking fast. Rude grabbed the unconscious Alicia, who had been knocked out during the chaos, and started moving. She woke up just in time, learning from Rude that they had beaten the Wisdom Dragon, or at least its last manifestation. But now the real fight was survival. Alicia had no mana left, and tried to tell Rude to leave without her. He couldn't comprehend that. He felt responsible for her exhaustion, knowing she had pushed herself to the limit. The girl reminded him to move fast, or they'd get buried alive. Rude's heart pounded, adrenaline and fear mixing with determination. He considered leaving Alicia to save himself and the others, but immediately rejected the thought. He couldn't abandon the people who trusted him. The chaos of monsters gathering in the labyrinth made the choice clear. They had to fight and survive together. Rude remembered the hero who saved his village as a kid, the words engraved in his heart. Never give up, no matter what. That memory lit a fire inside him, and he charged forward, fighting for his friends and for survival. Monsters were everywhere, relentless and fast. One got too close, and Rude tried to dodge, only to be injured. An ugly creature bit his arm, putting him in a helpless position. Without hesitation, he activated a special skill called self-cut, amputating his arm to survive. The pain was real, but he didn't stop. Using his regeneration skill, his arm grew back like nothing happened. Rude went on the offensive, impaling a monster with Graham, his cursed blade, and then activated Wrapped Lightning, hoping to wipe it out. But the horde didn't budge. The monster that absorbed his attack retaliated, throwing him back hard. Before he could fall completely, an unknown figure caught him. It was the hero who had saved his village years ago. The hero didn't waste time scolding him, just told him he did well, and to like, comment, and hit the bell for more.